Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Marty Ross. This is another Conversations with Marty Ross MD tonight. It's a new webinar platform. It may look the same to you, but it's a little bit different on my side. So I'm trying to figure out how to use it. And as I was getting ready to set it up tonight, I noticed that my good webcam isn't working. So I may look a little bit more yellow to you tonight than I did with my camera that I prefer to use. So anyhow, there's a few kinks to work out with this the new webinar platform. The reason it's a new webinar platform is I had to get compliant with the European Union privacy standards. And so we had to make a slight change, and it's just a slight change, but it's giving me a little bit of grief on this side tonight. So it's been a couple weeks since we've done these. Actually, we were off for 2 weeks in a row, and I'm back here again with you tonight. I'm sorry for getting here a little bit late. I had a really busy clinical day, and it just got way behind. So but we'll go ahead and answer as many questions of yours as you have tonight. So every one of these webinars is different, and they're different because they're dependent on the questions that you write to me. All right, so you get to create them. And the way that you do that is over on the bottom side of the screen, on the right-hand side of the screen, down at the bottom is a chat box. And the way that you use that chat box is you write a whole question complete. Keep in mind that each time you try to hit the enter key to create a different paragraph, it actually sends a separate question to me, which can get to be kind of hard for me to track on my side here, okay? So just keep that in mind. I appreciate if you don't hit the enter key once. It makes it a little bit easier for me to track information and follow the question. As I'm doing the webinar tonight, I'm going to be posting your questions on the screen so that people can see it. The other thing I need to let you know is this is being recorded. And tomorrow morning, if the recording goes okay and I'm able to get it edited, you should have an email from me somewhere around 6:30 to 7 o'clock a.m. Seattle time, giving you information about how to access that video. Okay. Now, I will tell you, with many of you may know, I've redesigned the Treat Lyme website. And I think it's a bit easier to read now. But one of the things you'll find on there is a webinars page that has both the sign up on it as well as recordings. I no longer have them on 2 pages. And so if you happen to not get that email for me, look for the webinar recording at the bottom of the webinars page. You can also find it on the home page at treatlyme.net. Just type in treatlyme.net. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of that page, the home page, you'll see that I have the video down there as well too. Other places you'll find the video tomorrow morning will be on Facebook. You'll also find it on the YouTube channel that I have, and you'll find it on the supplement store too. So there's lots of places to find recording of the webinar. All right. All right. So with no further ado, I think that takes care of the business end of things. I see there's a number of new faces here tonight, or at least names here tonight. And I see a number of old familiar names as well too. Welcome back to those of you who've been here before, and to those of you that are new here. I hope I can give you some information that you find useful. All right. So let's go ahead and see how I post a question on this new platform. Let me see here. There we go. Okay. So hi, Kit. This first question is from Kit, everyone. Hey, Dr. Ross. What is your number one go-to for treating Bartonella and Lyme simultaneously? So there's, as many of you may know, when it comes to treating Bartonella, my preference is to always use at least 2 antibiotics. And that can either be prescription or herbal antibiotics. And there's a way that you can pick those 2, so it also gives you a full treatment for Lyme, okay? So the issues with Lyme, when you treat Lyme, we have 3 forms of the germ that we have to take care of. There's the spirochete, that's the corkscrew-looking thing that many of you have seen pictures of on the internet. There's also a form of Lyme that lives inside of cells. That's called intracellular Lyme. And then there's a microscopic cyst form of the germ as well, too. Okay, so those are the 3 forms. And so we try to choose antibiotics that will cover at least 3 of those, all 3 forms. That usually requires 2 antibiotics, all right? And then on top of that, to treat Bartonella, we generally find antibiotics that get inside of cells, intracellular antibiotics, work best for Bartonella. And it just so happens I can choose 2 that treat Bartonella that also handle all forms of the Lyme germ. So usually what I like to do, if somebody can tolerate tetracyclines, my favorite would be to do a combination of minocycline, which is 100 milligrams twice a day. And I like to combine it with rifampin, which is a 300 milligram pill, 2 pills, 1 time a day. Rifampin for Lyme will treat cyst Lyme, can take care of intracellular Lyme. Minocycline is very fat soluble, which means it mixes in fatty substances easily. That makes it so it can cross over into the brain easily too. So it crosses the blood, what's known as the blood-brain barrier. It's just the way that the brain protects itself from getting toxins and medicines in. It's called the blood-brain barrier. Things that are fat soluble get through that a lot easier. Okay, and minocycline is one of those antibiotics that can do that. And the minocycline is useful for treating spirochete and intracellular Lyme too. Okay, so Mino treats spirochete intracellular, rifampin treats intracellular and cyst. You got your whole Lyme treatment taken care of. Okay, all right. Then rifampin is one of my favorite drugs that sometimes I might even try alone for Bartonella, although I usually get better results if I use 2 antibiotics. And so that rifampin Mino combination of that rifampin I would call the lead drug in terms of treating Bartonella, and it's supported and helped by the minocycline too. Okay. All right, now just a word about Bartonella. Generally, it takes about 4 to 6 months to get rid of Bartonella. And as many of you know, generally it takes on average, if you have chronic Lyme, about 2 years. All right, so again, you're going to eventually need to get on something else for your Lyme after you complete your Bartonella treatment. How do you know your Bartonella treatment's working? Well, your Bartonella symptoms should start getting better. And usually that's within a 1 to 2 months. If they are not, then it's time to reevaluate that you got on the right medicine, okay? Now, if you're a person that cannot tolerate the minocycline, because tetracycline sometimes give nausea, then you might consider doing, I usually like mixing that with Biaxin, which is called clarithromycin. It's a 500 milligram pill, 1 pill twice a day. That also treats intracellular Lyme and spirochete Lyme too. Okay? All right. All right. I hope that gives you a useful answer there, Kit. If many of you are wondering what else would I use, what other options do you have, or where can you find this information, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick screen share here. All right, we're going to go over to the new Treat Lyme site. All right, there we are. So this is Treat Lyme. This is my new design on the Treat Lyme site, and it's much more functional than before. Basically, everything is organized. I made it a little bit easier. This is a more streamlined menu up here. But if you want to know where things are, take a look at this tab called Start Reading. And in terms of where do you find the plans that I have to treat various infections, take a look at this infection treatment plans. And that brings you over to this chapter that I have that is laid out with the various things that you can use and how I would approach different germs. Okay, so there's my antibiotic guide for Lyme, for instance. And then here's my antibiotic guide for taking care of Bartonella. And when I use the word antibiotic, I mean both herbal and prescription antibiotics. All right. So let me go back. Oh, the other thing on this new site, there's a whole search bar up here. You go ahead and start typing. It actually starts displaying ideas for you right away as you do it. I do not have a search page anymore, so this all winds up being here on this little menu. All right. Let me go back here. Well, I think I'm trying to go back here. Let's see. Okay, there, I'm back. All right. So I hope that, Kit, I hope that gives you some useful information, everyone. I hope that gives you useful information as well, too. Okay. So let me move on here. Let's see. How do I get rid of old questions in this new format? That did it. Okay. Hello, Miranda. Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Ross, for all you continue to do for Lyme patients. You're welcome. What are your thoughts on supportive oligonucleotide technique treatment for Lyme? Thanks. I haven't heard of it before. I'll have to look into that one, Miranda. In fact, let me put that on my list. That's one of those things I think many of you may know. There are times that you all stump me. Not that common. Hopefully there aren't many 2 times tonight. But some of the ideas that people bring here are ideas that I eventually learn about and I'm able to incorporate into treatments that I do here with my patients at the Healing Arts Partnership, and I eventually write about too. So thank you for bringing this idea to my attention, and I'll have to take a look into that. Okay? All right. Take care, Miranda. Thank you for that question. All right. Let's see here. Hello, Deborah. Let's see. Good evening, Dr. Ross. What do you think of hair analysis to check for heavy metal toxicity. I have gut issues. My doc wants to do IV EDTA and the urine test. Just worried about feeling fatigued and bad afterwards. What do you think? Mahalo. So let me just talk. I'll answer that, but I want to describe how you might go about measuring for heavy metals and what the issue is with heavy metals too. Okay. So heavy metals, everyone, are things like lead, mercury. There's other ones, thallium, that basically can get into us. All right. So whenever we breathe in, drink in, absorb in, like many of us my age used to play with broken thermometers, that mercury from that thermometer might get absorbed through our skin. What happens with the majority of heavy metals once you get them, when they get into your bloodstream, is they'll get absorbed into the bloodstream. Most of them actually get peed out by the kidneys, and they're out of your body. They're not going to bother you anymore. But of those that remain, they get absorbed into our cells, into the inside of our cells. And inside of the cells, they cause problems. And the biggest problem is they're attracted to sulfur. And what's rich in sulfur in the body are the energy factories in our cells called mitochondria. By some estimates, we have 300 to 400 mitochondria in a cell. And if those heavy metals start attaching to sulfur in the mitochondria, what's rich in sulfur are the enzymes that help drive the chemical reactions that change one chemical to another chemical until it creates cell fuel. All right. So what happens is heavy metals interfere with the production of cell fuel by binding to all those enzymes. All right. So what we're really interested in is what's in the cells. Okay. All right. So now there's three ways we can test for heavy metals. We can do a blood test. Blood test probably is a more accurate indicator, not of what's in the cells. Some of what's in the cells will leak back into the bloodstream. But probably a blood test is a better indicator of what you're being exposed to on an ongoing basis. Okay, on an ongoing basis, that is. All right. Okay. Hair analysis is probably good for what you've been exposed to over the last 2 to 3 months. It all depends on the length of your hair. Okay. But not such a good indicator of what's in the cells. All right. And what's in the cells is interesting. Once a heavy metal gets inside your cells, it has an elimination half-life, the amount of time it takes for us to get rid of half of what's in our cells. The elimination half-life is 23 years. Okay, so what that means is you can have small exposures that gradually build up over time to the point they start poisoning your cells, basically. Okay, all right. So what you're really interested in is what's in the cells, and the way to do that is with a chelation challenge test, which is to either take some chelation pills. I usually like using DMSA to do that, or you can do IV chelation with the EDTA that they're talking about here. Some doctors will even do DMPS as an agent. And the reason you want to give the chelating agents are metal magnets. They help pull, okay? So what you usually do is give a chelation agent, collect urine for about 6 hours. And what that does is that'll help pull it out of the cells so you get an idea of whether you got too much in the cells or not, okay? It's the best way to test for it. It can be a fatiguing process at times, but I got to tell you, it's more accurate to do it that way than the hair analysis, because what you want to know is what's in the cells, not necessarily what you've been exposed to over the last 3 months, okay? All right. Good luck to you, Deborah. Thank you for the question. All right, let's see here. Hello, Sita. Let's see. Is unusually bright pink tongue part of the Lyme symptom picture? It happens on and off. My vitamin B12 tests, both urine, MMA, and serum B12, those are ways of looking at B12, everyone, are not low, and I take sublingual B12 regularly just in case. Any clues? Is it true that taking B-complex vitamins during Lyme is not recommended? On a different note, how long does NT factor have to be used before noticeable changes are seen? You snuck a number of questions in there, Sita. Let me try to take those apart one at a time, okay? So in and of itself, I don't think pink tongue means anything in Lyme disease. Sometimes what can make the tongue pink is the medicines we take. Sometimes they'll stain the tongue, okay? Other than I don't have any good ideas as to what's making your tongue pink, but it's not something I would see as being common in Lyme disease, okay? Let's see. I don't find that B complex vitamins are harmful in Lyme. And I think in some people they're helpful, especially if you have a lot of neuropathies. They can help sometimes with that. So I'm not sure why people are saying that. Keep in mind, you always find somebody says, don't take this because Lyme thrives on it, right? So a common one would be people say, don't take magnesium, Lyme thrives on it. Well, keep in mind, Lyme is designed to live in us. So of course, it's going to thrive on the things we need to survive and thrive on too. And my attitude with any of these restrictions is you got to be careful that we don't starve ourselves to starve the germ. That's not good in terms of immune function either, okay? So I would use B complexes if you need to, especially if you've got some ongoing neuropathy. All right, so then NT factor. Everyone, NT factor is a supplement. One manufacturer of it is a company called Research Nutritionals, for instance. And what NT factor has in it are fats that make up the covering of cell membranes and of your mitochondria. I talked about mitochondria earlier. Remember, those are the cell energy factories. One of the things that can happen when you have Lyme is that the covering of the cells and the covering of your energy factories can become injured. One of the reasons that can happen is as the immune system is trying to get rid of germs, it can make a bunch of what are known as oxidizing agents. And oxidizing agents are damaging to fat membranes. Okay, so your mitochondria membrane, the covering of the mitochondria, is made up of a double layer of fat. The covering of your cells is made up of a double layer of fat. All right. So one of the things I will do periodically, especially if I've got people with neuropathy or if I have people with prolonged low energy, and usually for the low energy, I won't use NT factor until about 6 to 9 months into a treatment, because often just getting the Lyme knocked down with antibiotics and following the whole Ross Lyme support protocol, where I talk about you lowering cytokines, getting sleep, using ashwagandha to support your adrenal glands, all those basic steps of my protocol are usually going to be enough to get your energy up, and you're not going to need to do anything to fix the mitochondria. But if you're about 6 to 9 months into treatment and you're still just really, really fatigued, start thinking about doing mitochondrial repair. And especially also if you have ongoing nerve injury, neuropathy, and you're about 5-6 months into treatment, or 6 months or so into treatment, you might want to think about adding the NT factor for that reason as well too. Okay, so NT factor, it's repairing of the cell membrane and also the mitochondrial membrane, usually is at its most benefit, or you've maximized the benefit. You've gotten the most out of it you can after you've used it for about 6 months. All right. So usually the way I'll have people started is as 2 pills 3 times a day. And I'll do that for a couple months. And then after that, I'll decrease it down to 1 pill 3 times a day. Okay. That's how I found it to be beneficial. I'll do it as the 1 pill 3 times a day for 4 months. Okay. Now in addition, if you're trying to use these, use it as part of a nerve repair or a mitochondria repair formula, there are other things I also like to add to that. And I don't want to take the time to describe that right now, but I'm just going to show you where you might find that information. So let me do a quick screen share here. All right, so this is back at in Treat Lyme, my website Treat Lyme. Okay, so what I would do, take a look at, there's a chapter on energy and fatigue. And what I would take a look at is my article called Power Up Energy and Mitochondria. I talk about what to do to fix the mitochondria, what other supplements in addition to NT factor you might want to use. And the contents of that article are very similar to what you'll find in another article I have called, in my chapter on brain and nerves. And that article is on neuropathy repair, how to heal injured nerves. Okay, so it's a kind of similar content between those two. All right, okay. Let me go back here. All right, so I hope that gives you some insights there, Seta, and I hope everyone else that gives you some insight as well too. Okay, all right. Bear with me here. But the reason you see me taking some time here, I got to pull the previous question off the screen so I can read the next question, actually. Let's see here. All right, here we are. Hello, Lori. Let's see. So grateful for your help. You're welcome. I have this nauseated, gross, miserable, tired, aching feeling that is with me all the time. Not nauseated to the point where I'm vomiting, though. I've been told it's Bartonella, but I'm starting to think it could be liver related as I've high overrange alk phos and low bilirubin. My skin is yellowy, orange tinge too. So do you have any ideas, or is this miserableness just part of Bartonella? So I usually I don't ascribe or designate nausea as necessarily being a Bartonella symptom. I just want to let you know that. I'm usually going to look in my practice and see what medicines I might have a person on that could be leading to nausea, or what supplements I have a person on that might lead to nausea. Okay. And I'm not going to go through those possibilities because I don't even know what you're on, but start looking at your supplements. One of the primary ones that can lead to nausea from a supplement standpoint actually is the B complexes, are known to do that. So anyhow, I might look at it that way. Okay. The other thing I would do is take a look at your blood testing. If your alk phos is sitting like, say, 140 or higher, that sometimes can indicate gallstones. And the only way to find it, so you would need to do further testing to figure out if you have gallstones. The first step might be to get an ultrasound, a gallbladder ultrasound, an abdominal ultrasound, so that it can see if there are gallstones in your gallbladder that might be giving nausea. Typically, liver inflammation might sometimes lead to nausea, but when you're on Lyme antibiotics, it's very common that you're going to have some degree of liver inflammation. The way we look at liver inflammation is we look at two chemicals made by the liver, or enzymes made by the liver. One is called AST, another one called ALT. Generally, I expect they're going to be slightly elevated in antibiotics. And what my goal is to try to keep them so that they don't become higher than 2 times the upper end of what's normal range. Okay, so for instance, for an ALT, depending on the lab, a normal range might be 10 to 40. And if I've got somebody that has a level that is less than 80, I'm okay then, because the upper end of normal is 40. I like to keep it at 2 times the upper end of normal, which would be 80 basically, or lower than 2 times the upper end of normal. Okay. And then finally, sometimes the medicines that we put a person on can lead to gastritis or inflammation of the stomach lining. That can lead to a lot of nausea as well, too. Okay. So anyhow, I hope those give you some ideas to look at least. All right. I don't think I have an answer for you, though, but I hope that gives you some ideas. All right. Take care, Lori. Good luck with that. All right, let's see here. All right. Hello, Donna. Let's see. I have dysautonomia and Lyme. I just purchased the HMF Forte. On the bottle, it says, do not take if you are immune compromised. What do I do? I think what they're worried about, I don't agree with that disclaimer that they put on there. What they are saying is if you have a weak immune, I think they're worried that if you have intestinal infection, that sometimes those bacteria might work their way into the bloodstream. That is, I don't think that's appropriate. I think they're also talking about if you have immune compromise, like the kind we might see when people are on chemotherapy for cancer, where they have extremely, extremely low white blood cell counts. That might be a cause of concern. But for most people, the kind of immune suppression you might have with Lyme disease, there's no risk in being on the HMF Forte and those bacteria working from the intestines into your bloodstream. Okay. All right. I hope that answers your question. I think you'd be okay doing that, actually. All right. Good luck to you, Donna. Hello, Janice. Let's see. Enjoy these webinars. Good. I'm glad you're back. Let's see. And your new website, I think you mean website, not Busite there. Thank you. See, I'm not absorbing fluid and vitamins and supplements. I wonder if they're... Janice, I don't see there was a second part to your question here. Just one comment to think about. When people have a hard time absorbing, I'm wondering what is happening with the good bacteria in their intestines and whether there might also be some intestinal yeast overgrowth, okay? So your intestine lining has the way that food gets digested so that it can be absorbed is that acid in the stomach starts to break it down. And then the pancreas releases a bunch of enzymes that further break down the food. But the end breakdown of food, what breaks it into parts that it can get absorbed into our bloodstream, are the good bacteria that line the intestines. And if we have inadequate good bacteria because we've been on antibiotics in the past or currently with Lyme, then sometimes we're not going to have enough good bacteria to digest that food. Also, sometimes the pancreas just isn't making enough enzymes, and so sometimes we have to give enzymes to help break that food down too, okay? One of the things that can also decrease absorption of food and also lead to a disturbance of the good bacteria in the intestines is if you get too many yeast living in the intestines, okay? So first thing to do, I would look to see, do you have too many yeast? And things that make me wonder about having too many yeast would be if you have a lot of sugar cravings, are you gassy and bloated a lot? Do you have acne? Sometimes when you get too many yeast, they release toxins that interact with your skin that then lead to acne formation as well too, okay? If you're a woman, do you have any vaginal itching or vaginal discharge? Those are things that can sometimes indicate whether you have too many yeast as well too, okay? So I take a look at that. To help with digestion, consider doing digestive enzymes. I like using something made by Integrative Therapeutics called Similase. And usually I have people do 2 before meals 3 times a day if they've got digestion problems. I want to make sure that I've got my patients on a good probiotic that can aid in that food digestion. My favorite is the HMF Forte that was written about earlier. It's made up of good strains of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium that have been shown to repopulate the intestines. And if you're having indigestion, poor digestion, I might look at doing 4 pills of that 1 time a day. And then again, if you have yeast, you're going to need to treat the yeast too. All right. So let me show you a couple articles here that you can take a look at and do a quick screen share here again. I'm going to do a quick screen share here again. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this is the back in Treat Lyme. And what I want to look at, there's a whole chapter that I have on yeast. You'll find it right there. And in that chapter, you'll find my article about how do you kill yeast. I go through a bunch of ideas, prescription as well as natural here. Also, here's my article on how do you know if you have yeast? How do you diagnose it? Okay. And I give you the ideas how you can figure that out clinically as well too. Okay. All right. Go back here. All right, there we are, back again. Okay, Janice, I hope that gave you some useful information there. Okay, bear with me, everyone. I just want to scan up. I'm scanning to some of the last comments that have been written here because I'm trying to figure out if anyone's having a hard time hearing me or seeing things, etc. And it looks like generally, somebody from Jennifer said it's not working. Could somebody write it? I'm going to just wait here where I see the new comments come in. Can somebody let me know, are you guys seeing me? When I do my screen shares, are they being seen okay? Okay, good. All right. So you're seeing this. Thank you for writing, Rita. I appreciate that. It sounds like you're hearing me okay too. Very good. Okay, everyone, thank you. Thanks for providing those comments. I appreciate that. Good. Okay, let me go back here. All right. Hello, Emily. Let's see. Hi. What is your opinion on ultraviolet blood therapy? So ultraviolet blood therapy and something called ozone, something called hydrogen peroxide, are all forms of what are known as I don't know if you all can see me. I'm having a technical problem here. Suddenly I have a new version. I am now showing up twice on my own computer screen. Um, oh boy, what is going on with this new platform? What have I done? I'm not hearing any complaints here. It looks like maybe we're still working okay. All right. All right. So this is Emily is asking, what is your opinion on ultraviolet blood therapy? And so my opinion on ultraviolet, oh, I really don't understand what just happened here. Anyhow, okay, it sounds like people are still seeing me okay. All right, I'm getting, I have two images of me on my side. So anyhow, let me see, what if I got rid of that? Get rid of that. No. How do I get rid of that? Yeah, I know. I have a split screen. I'm not sure how that happened. Well, I think we just may have to use it in split screen mode. I'm not sure how I got that to occur. How do I get rid of that? Let's see here. Turn that off. I have no idea how I create a split screen, but I guess we're just going to have to use it that way. Okay. So I don't want to horse around here forever looking at that. Anyhow, what is my opinion on ultraviolet light therapy? Okay, so ultraviolet therapy is a form of oxidative medicine, all right? Just like hydrogen peroxide and ozone are forms of oxidative medicines as well, too. And they can kill germs, and they kill germs by damaging their membrane. They also kill fat membranes, and they also kill germs by also damaging the DNA of the germ. Now, we supposedly are protected from. We are supposedly are protected ourselves. Our cells are protected from getting damaged by oxidative agents because we make antioxidants. My concern, though, is that no one's really done long-term studies about what happens to our own cells, our own DNA, even though we make antioxidants, if we do repeated uses of UVA or ozone or hydrogen peroxide therapies. Okay, so I just don't know because no one's done those studies to know what would happen exactly. All right. So because of that, I usually don't recommend using them on an ongoing basis. I think they may be safe to do and give you some benefit on a short-term basis, but I wouldn't look at using them on an ongoing basis. Okay. All right. That would be my thoughts on it. When I see people do oxidative medicines, I find that they usually are only helpful about maybe 40% of the time. I don't find that they're the most useful way of doing long-term treatments. Okay. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. And everyone, I know I've got a split screen. I just can't figure out how to get it to go away. So I apologize for that. All right. Where are we here? All right, let me get rid of Emily's here. Hello, Jennifer from Sydney, Australia. Hello to you. Good to have you here. All right, looks like another post from Jennifer here. right. Jennifer says, are migraines common with Lyme and co-infections? How do you treat them, and why don't migraine medications work? So migraines, when I think of migraines, the more common thing, the co-infection I think of is Babesia. Okay, so migraines and frontal headaches can be common in Babesia. Now, having migraines does not proof that you have Babesia, though. But when I hear migraines, I think often of Babesia. Other symptoms that make you think about Babesia too would be drenching night sweats, having air hunger, feeling like you can't get enough air in from time to time, having panic or anxiety attacks, having a racing or skipping of your heart. Those are things that make you think about having Babesia as well too. Okay, and headaches sometimes can be part of that as well. Lyme sometimes can also give headaches as well too. For some people, and so the treatments would be the standard medicines we might use for migraines, even if you don't have Lyme. And they can be hard to treat. Sometimes you even have to wind up getting Botox injections for them. From an herbal medicine standpoint, I like using something called Butterbur that I find sometimes is useful even when prescription medicines have not helped. And that's a 50 milligram pill that you take 3 times a day. There's been studies done comparing it to conventional anti-migraine medical approaches, and it can work just as well. It's something you have to take all the time to prevent a migraine, and therefore it might take a number of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you know if it's going to give you benefit. You would not use it to break an acute attack. In terms of prescription medicines, you might also try what are called the triptans. The most common one is something called Imitrex. That helps to break a migraine as it's starting to mount, but you have to take it right away. And those don't work on everyone. Sometimes it leaves people feeling very dizzy and spacey, so they're not a uniform solution for people as well too. Let me see here. There's a group of medicines that you can use to prevent migraines. Sometimes we use antidepressant medicines to do that. Sometimes we'll use a group of anti-seizure medicines to do that. Sometimes there are some blood pressure medicines that will do that as well too. But my favorite go-to would be more, again, this herbal medicine called Butterbur. And what I like at my supplement store, Marty Ross MD supplements, for instance, we carry a variety made by Integrative Therapeutics called Petidolax is the Butterbur that we carry there. All right. So anyhow, I hope that gives you some useful information there too. Good luck to you, Jennifer. All right, let's see here. Hello, Donna. Let's see here. How in the heck do I get rid of that other screen? It's still driving me nuts, everyone. How do I unpresent myself? Room owner. I like that. How do I get rid of that? It's just not going to go away. No matter what I do, I cannot get it to go away. I'm still trying to make it go away. Nope. Still can't get it to go away. All right. Anyhow, let's see here. Hi, Donna. Let's see. How long are the leaky gut and the yeast protocols? I'm currently taking a crypto, a BLT, and microbinate, and was wondering if I can add cat's claw and otobo bark, or will it be too much at one time? So typically a protocol to get rid of yeast, if you use one of my prescription protocols, which would combine a nystatin along with an azole, like a diflucan, for instance. The prescription protocols, and then you take probiotics with it too. Usually within a month, you've got your yeast under good control, okay? If you go an herbal protocol, like using herbs that like a powder coke, caprylic acid, rosemary, thyme oil, those kind of products, usually talking about maybe 2 to 3 months to get yeast out. So the herbs tend not to work quite as quickly as what the prescriptions might do that for you. Okay. All right. In terms of leaky gut, often getting your yeast out is the primary step. And then it can take about another 2 to 4, 5 months sometimes before a lot of the leaky gut symptoms start going away, because things have to heal in the gut as well too. Okay. All right, now can you add cat's claw and otoba bark to this combo? Yeah, you could. So your crypto is primarily going after Babesia. The BLT is a formulation from Research Nutritionals that's designed to do Bartonella and Lyme, although I just would not call it the strongest treatment for either one of those. And the microbinate is their antiviral formula. I would. I don't know what you have. I don't know enough about what you have, but I would have no problem adding a cat's claw and otoba bark to this kind of combination. Okay. All right. So everyone, cat's claw and otoba bark are what I primarily use, are my favorite herbs in terms of herbs I find effective at treating Lyme. And they work about probably around 85 to 90% of the time. I find them to be as effective as prescription antibiotics in most people. Okay? All right. Because prescription antibiotic combinations usually work about 85 to 90% of the time as well, too. All right. Thanks for that question, Donna. Let's see here. Hello, Janet. Let's see. About 4 years ago, I finished 7 years of treatment with both pharmaceutical and supplements for Lyme, Babesia, and Ehrlichia. I'm currently doing nutritional response testing using standard process whole food supplements. Have been feeling pretty good, but not still sleeping well. Taking GABA and trazodone for that. Having numbness, tingling in my hands and feet, and feel like my brain is in a vice. If I do get some kind of infection, it lingers for weeks. I've had bronchitis and sinus infections for 5 weeks now. Any suggestions? Jan, I'm trying to figure out whether I need a lot more information to give you better advice or not. Hold on just a minute here. Okay, so one thing, probably for me to give you the best advice, I would consider one of my consult visits where you actually visit with me online, and that way I could get a lot more history from you. But and I'll show you how you can do that here in a minute. We'll do a screen share here in a second. But short of that, what I see is that if you're getting every kind of virus and sinus infection that comes along, it probably means you have had your immune system is a bit beat up from having had Lyme. The things that I would consider doing that would boost your immune system in this kind of a situation. Number one, I like using mushrooms. Mushrooms are good at turning on a type of white blood cell called T cells and getting them revved up to handle both viruses and bacteria. Okay. And so I like using a mushroom mix. I like using something called the Immune Builder 5 mushroom formula, for instance. That's what I use in my practice. And I have people take one pill 3 times a day. There's 5 varieties of mushrooms in it. The big ones would be maitake, shiitake, and reishi mushrooms, okay? That's good at revving your immune system up to take care of both bacteria as well as viruses, all right? In terms of that kind of vice feeling around your head, you might consider using some magnesium just to see if you can get the muscles to relax. My favorite form of magnesium is to use something called magnesium malate. That seems to do a better job than some of the other forms like magnesium citrate and others at relaxing those muscles. You can do about 400 to 600 milligrams at night, and that might even help your sleep to a degree as well too, okay? And then the numbness and tingling in the hands suggest ongoing nerve injury. And the reason I want to talk to you more is I wonder if your Lyme really is all the way out. What I'm wondering is, have you been left with ongoing injury, or is there still some Lyme germ activity here? And Frank, I just need to ask you a lot more questions to answer that. So what I'm mainly giving you is breaking things down by symptoms, but I would be more interested in knowing, do you have Lyme going on here still? Okay. Meaning live infection, not necessarily the damage created by Lyme. Okay. But try that magnesium, try the mushrooms would be some things to do. For the numbness and tingling, to help your nerves heal, you might look at that NT factor I talked about earlier tonight, as well as the article that I wrote about, that I showed you all earlier tonight about how to heal neuropathy. Okay, those would be some thoughts. But again, consider doing one of those consult visits with me as well too. So let me just show that, how you would go about doing that here. All right. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go back here. There we are. Okay, so this back in Treat Lyme. So this is my website called Treat Lyme again. And what I would have you take a look at is this tab called Private Consultations. And make sure you read through the whole thing. It really describes how this works, the information that you're going to get, the information that I can provide to your physician. Keep in mind that because I do not get to physically examine you, I can't prescribe, I can't order tests, but I can give you ideas on things you want to try out. Make sure you read our disclaimer section here and all the requirements too. And if you are interested, then feel free to reach out to us through the information that you see here. Okay, all right. Anyone can do that. That's the purpose of these visits, basically. Okay, all right. Let me go back here. Oh, I want to show you one other thing too. So again, tonight, I've mentioned a number of times my supplement store, so anyone could use it. The reason I have a supplement store is I wanted my patients to have high quality supplements, and these are available to anyone. I've chosen products here that I think have the best chance of working based on the manufacturer's commitment to finding good ingredients, basically. Also, these supplements that I've chosen here tend to have decreased chance of having fillers and harmful added ingredients that might hurt you as well too. Okay, so the Pedidolax, which is the Butterbur that I was telling you about, is you could literally write Butterbur up here. Let's go ahead and search for anything. Just search for the generic names and you'll find it. And that's our Pedidolax, or the Butterbur product that we have. Okay, all right. So again, anyone can use the store. It's for anyone to use. All right, let me go back here. I'm back and I'm still split. I don't like this split screen, but I guess I'm just going to have to be quiet about it because I can't figure out how to get rid of it here. All right, Janet, I hope that gives you some useful information there. All right, and thank you for that question. Hello, Caroline. Let's see. Thank you so much for your webinars. You're welcome. What is your opinion about having cataract surgery if I have Lyme and other tick-borne diseases? I'm actually okay with that. I get more concerned about, or I get concerned about general surgeries. By surgeries that require general anesthesia. And what I mean by general anesthesia is the kind where they put the breathing tube down into your lungs, and they, through the breathing tube, they give you anesthetic gas, okay? I'm not talking nitrous that they give you in a dentist office, but literally where they have an anesthesiologist, they knock you out by having you breathe in this anesthetic gas, okay? So general anesthesia has been shown, or not shown, is widely recognized among Lyme doctors as being something that causes Lyme to get more active. And it's not clear why. So I'm very cautious about recommending general surgery unless we really need to, especially when I'm in the middle of a treatment, okay? That's just an observation. But the kind of anesthetics that they're going to do just with eye drops or here with the cataract isn't going to bother you. And I don't think you have any decreased of a chance of a good outcome compared to anyone that doesn't have Lyme, for instance, either. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Caroline. Thank you for that question. Hello, Brenda. Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Ross. I have Lyme and Bartonella. What herbs can I use for biofilms? Also, can you tell me the best herbs for wildcraft herbs to use for Lyme and Bartonella? Is chlorella good to detox with? Thanks again. All right. So take a look at so you need to look at two articles where you'll find more detail about this, but the two herbs that I like to use, my favorite two herbs for managing Lyme is otoba bark and cat's claw. And there were some really good petri dish experiments that were done about 6 years ago that showed that they have the ability to kill all three forms of Lyme germ, and they get rid of 100% of biofilms. Okay, so to answer your question, to treat your biofilms, the thing you use to treat Lyme, if you do the Otoba and the cat's claw tinctures, will actually take care of all of your biofilms too. Okay, all right, and then and the way that you would wind up using the Otoba and the cat's claw and the Wildcraft Herbs product specifically is the same way that I wind up using the Cowden protocol, Nutrimetics products, okay, is I dose it the same way. So first of all, if you're using the Wildcraft Herbs, ignore the dosing that is written by the manufacturer on the bottle. I don't use it that way. The way that I use Otoba and the way that I recommend the cat's claw tinctures are to start at 5 drops of each, twice a day, and increase every other day by 1 drop per dose until you reach 30 drops twice a day. Okay. If you happen to be herxing or getting worse as you're increasing the dose, don't advance until that passes. That means you still keep taking it, you just don't keep advancing it. You can take the two herbs together at the same time, either squirt them directly in your mouth or you can put them in water. You can take them with other medicines and supplements too. Just make sure that you take them at least 2 hours or more away from your probiotics, okay? The only thing you want to do is try to take them on an empty stomach. Don't take them with food. And that means do not take them beginning 30 minutes before you eat up through 2 hours after you eat, okay? All right, and then those will work about 85-90% of the time. Again, I like them. I find they can be as good as prescription antibiotics, all right? Okay, then the two herbs that I like to use are Otoba bark. For Bartonella would be Sida acuta and Hutania. And actually, let me just show you where to find this because I've got it all written down for you too. I'm going to do a quick screen share here. Okay, so take a look at my treatment protocol. So this is the Ross Lyme support protocol, all right? And in here, I've broken down into various steps that you need to use to get over Lyme, including all of the stuff that you need to do, okay? If you want a list of the key herbs that are part of the Ross Lyme support protocol, just click on this key right here, all right? And there's a whole table that will print out that should print out. There it is. That literally lists out the things, the herbal you would do for sleep, the cytokine control herbs that I recommend, how you support your adrenals, herbs I recommend for treating yeast. And then down here is my kills Bartonella section where I give you the directions on how to do the Hutania and the Sida acuta. And I talk about how to do the cat's claw and the Otoba bark, okay? So that's a document you could print off and carry around. Another way that you could find that information, let me get out of here. All right, you can even print off the whole protocol here if you click this button, okay? All right, so this is a new navigation menu that I had them build into my protocol, which makes it a lot easier to get around it because this protocol gets to be a little long at times. So you can also just come down here and look and see what do I recommend for Lyme infection treatment. It will bring you down to that section where in the protocol on the computer, I explain the Otoba and the cat's claw, okay? And then the co-infection treatments, you just hit this number 12 here, and I talk about the Hutania and Sida acuta there, okay? So that's where you'd get that information. It's all part of the Ross Lyme support protocol, okay? All right, let me get out of here. That goes away. All right, there we go. All right, Brenda, I hope that gives you some information there. Good luck to you. Let's see here. It's from Jennifer. Is he being treated for babesia with Zithromax, Mepron, and artesunate? Started a month ago. The past week, I started feeling worse with severe head pressure, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, heart palpitations. I feel like this must be a Herx. Can a Herx take a month to start? Also, I read the babesia doesn't cause a Herx because the meds just stop replication and don't kill, so there isn't the big die-off like with Lyme. Is this true? Because it certainly feels like a Herx. Okay, so generally, when you treat Babesia, I agree, people don't get herxing. Sometimes they will still have some type of reaction where they may get more air hunger or they may get more sweaty or more fatigue, but I usually don't see the classic Herx symptoms occur in killing Babesia, okay? In terms of head pressure, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, heart palpitations, those sound like, it sounds like I'm wondering if your Babesia treatment's working, because that sounds like a worsening of Babesia symptoms. Now, I would need to know more information about what your original Babesia symptoms were so I can make that kind of a comment. But head pressure can be sometimes part of Babesia. Headaches can be part of Babesia. Dizziness, fatigue, heart skipping around sometimes. So I don't know what other symptoms you had suggesting Babesia, but I would wonder if something is not working well. Okay. The other thing, when people are doing better and then suddenly, so no, you would not tend to get a Herx 4 weeks after you started something. Okay. Secondly, Babesia typically doesn't give you classic Herx symptoms. So I start wondering, is my drug working? Okay. So is your Babesia treatment working? Or sometimes if you start to get worse after you've been doing better on a treatment, we have to be concerned that you might have developed another problem, which is by being on all these antibiotics, it's possible to get too many yeast living in your intestines, okay? And if you get too many yeast living in your intestines, they trigger your immune system to overproduce cytokines. And they also release a toxin, a neurotoxin called gliotoxin that can give you brain fog, for instance, too, okay? So the reason that they become a problem is when you have Lyme disease, the main symptoms that you have are actually due to your immune system overproducing cytokines. They're cytokine excess symptoms, okay? So what we call Lyme disease symptoms really kind of is a misnaming of those symptoms. White blood cells, in trying to get rid of Lyme, make a group of chemicals called cytokines. On the good hand, they're made to turn the immune system on, but if the immune system has a hard time getting rid of them, it keeps trying harder and harder, and eventually it may make too many cytokines. And too many cytokines make it so you can't sleep, give you pain, give you fatigue, make your hormonal systems not work correctly. And so they can become quite a big problem, actually. Okay. Now, if you get something else that moved into your intestines that triggers too many yeast, or I'm sorry, if yeast move in, they can trigger too many cytokines, and it can make it look like your Lyme and maybe even some of your other symptoms, like your Babesia type symptoms, got worse too. So take a look. I showed you earlier tonight, there's an article I have about how do you figure out if you have too many yeast. Take a look at that. You'll find it in my yeast chapter. I would look there first, figure that out. Okay, that's where I would go with this first. All right. Good luck to you, Jennifer. I hope you figure it out. Hello, private B, I guess that's who it says to me. It says B private on my side, but I think it's because it's recorded it as a message that was sent to me privately. Anyhow, hi, Dr. Marty. Thanks for all you do. A physician now deceased was facing board actions, and all of his patients showed up at his hearing. The board backed off. Is it worth a try? Oh, and could you say something about transudate with detox and how to handle it? It seems to make a waxy coating on the skin. So, as many of you know, my board is just causing me massive amounts of heartache, and therefore my patients too. And that because I'm really kind of tied up with them, I decided to stop seeing patients and close the clinical part of my practice until I get it worked out with them. So my clinical part of practice, the last day is Friday this week, actually, which is why I got to the webinar late. As you can imagine, there's just a lot of extra work to do as I'm kind of in this phase. Many of you do know I'm still going to keep the Lyme disease information site going. My store is still going. The consults are going to still keep going for now. And hopefully I'll be able to get this sorted out. Where I'm at with my board right now is they've requested, as an outgrowth of a previous action they took over a woman that was dying that got better from my treatment. The board investigated me. They don't care that she got well. No. They have decided that when they learned that I treat Lyme like I do and I use alternative medicines, that there's got to be something wrong with my clinic. And so they've decided to come back after me again, and they've requested a random audit of a bunch of medical records. And what they're looking for is any excuse, I think, to take my license. So I have to get those records to them in my response. That will be happening next week. I expect some action as to whether they're going to move quickly to suspend or it will become a hearing. If there is a hearing that takes place, I will keep in mind that idea of having everyone show up. That would be very interesting. Of course, I'll be talking with my lawyer about that too. But thank you for that idea. I appreciate that. Let's see. So, sometimes when people do when you have toxins in you, they come out. You can either sweat toxins out or you're going to poop or pee them out, okay? The ones that you pee out are the water-soluble ones. The ones that you sweat or poop out are ones that the poop-out ones are ones that are oil-based that when they go to the liver get transformed by the liver into a water-based toxin. And as a water-based toxin, they mix into our poop and we poop them out, okay? Now, if for some reason your liver detox mechanisms are not going well, a lot of those toxins, fat toxins that would normally be turned into water toxins, perhaps the liver has a hard time with those. They come out of the liver fat-based, they get absorbed back into your bloodstream. And then the only way that they can get out, because the liver's not clearing them, is sometimes they'll show up in our sweat. Because another way we get toxins out is we sweat them out. So if you're having a lot of exudate or transudate, I think is what you're calling it here, or a film or a covering, and also if you have an odor, think that maybe your liver isn't helping as much as it should. And often what I'll have people do is support the liver. And what I like using to support the liver is glutathione. Glutathione is a master antioxidant that is found and made in every one of our cells. And inside of our cells, it is used to repair damage. It's made in high concentrations, especially in the liver, where it's used to transform water-based toxins into fat-based toxins into water-based toxins, okay? So I like using liposomal glutathione because liposomal, meaning it's microscopically wrapped in fat, liposomal products are shown to get better absorption. The product I like to use is one by Research Nutritionals called Trifortify. They actually have science showing that it does increase red blood cell levels of glutathione. It does get absorbed, okay? And I would do 5 milliliters of their product one time a day. And that could help with some of that issue that I think you're describing here, okay? And thank you for the idea of having the courtroom flooded, if you will. We'll see if and when we need to get to that point, okay? All right. So anyhow, I know many of you are aware of what's happening, but yeah, I was brought before the board for helping a woman get over severe mold toxicity and Lyme. She had been in hospice and now she's thriving, but they just didn't like the techniques. A pharmacist reported me for some of the medicines that I used, and that then alerted them to the fact that I use herbs and supplements in my practice and that I treat Lyme for more than a month with antibiotics. And so they're just back at me in a very negative way right now. Anyhow, I hope it all works out. We'll see. As many of you know, I don't hold high promise, though, because I met with the board already once, and they are some very backwards physicians that really are just not happy with what I'm doing out here. Anyhow, there you go. Thank you for the comments, though. Good luck to you. Let's see. Hello, Giselle. Let's see. Hello, I'm the only one that is getting bad audio, getting echoes. Oops. Sorry, I don't know why that was happening to you, but I also see that you now are getting fine audio. You wrote me another message that said you're getting it fine. So that's good. Hello, Joseph. Let's see. You mentioned what bacteria doxy and amoxicillin kills, but you did not mention what or how good cefuroxime works for. Okay. So cefuroxime is an antibiotic that is in the family called cephalosporins. And cephalosporins are brothers or sisters of the family of penicillins. Okay. So generally what amoxicillin, which is a penicillin, treats is also what the cephalosporins are going to treat. And so amoxicillin and the penicillins as well as the cephalosporins, are what are known as cell wall agents. And what they do is they work on the spirochete. And the way that they work on the spirochete is spirochetes have a covering on them, and that covering can get injured and it needs to repair itself. The amoxicillin and the cefuroxime, penicillins and cephalosporins work by blocking the repair mechanisms. So what eventually happens is germs just get damaged coverings, get holes, and they eventually grow and burst. Okay, that's kind of is the idea on how they work. So I would use the cephalosporins to treat for spirochete Lyme. Now, interestingly enough, there have been some petri dish studies that do show that the cephalosporins can actually help with cyst. It's not clear why. Mechanism-wise, it doesn't make sense. But perhaps maybe we get some cyst killing out of it too. But that's nothing I would not build a treatment around that idea, though. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Again, let's see. Also, how long would you continue the cat's claw and Tobabark? Feeling much better. I'm up to 17 drops each. So generally, I treat Lyme long enough until a person is well and has, and therefore would, when we stop, would have limited chance of getting relapse. Okay. All right. So I treat long enough to get well and to prevent relapse. Those are the two criteria. All right. So how do you decide that? Well, if somebody can get 100% well, I like to treat until they're symptom-free, no symptoms of Lyme at all for 2 months. Now, if you have chronic Lyme, sometimes it's hard to get there, okay? Because sometimes, as many of you know, Lyme can create more ongoing or more permanent injury, if you will, okay? All right. So the other standard that I'll use is to treat until somebody is at a really good level for about 4 months. And no matter what I do to adjust their treatment, I cannot find a way to get them better than where they are. And that's another time that I will think about stopping their treatment, okay? So that actually leads me to want to do a screen share. So this is a little bit of a step beyond your question, but you'll see why I'm going to do it here in a minute. Let me do a screen share here. Okay, so one of the things that I have in the Ross Lyme support protocol, again, you'll find it under the treatment protocol page. This is my Lyme disease treatment guideline. I have a section at the end called special considerations. Okay. And this talks about things to keep in mind. But one of the parts of this is what to do at 6 months and beyond if you're not getting better. Okay. So remember I just said there's things I might try to adjust things to get somebody better. And if after 4 months they're not getting any better, okay. So the ideas that I would consider is I would look at mold and Lyme toxin illness. I would look to see if they have detox problems, all right. I might try some of these biofilm treatments. I might try to look and see, do they have viruses? I might do some mitochondria energy repair. I would consider, is there Bartonella or Babesia blocking treatment? I would consider maybe doing a low-dose naltrexone. I might even consider doing LDI, or I might consider looking at whether they have active yeast or not, okay? All right. Now, another place that you can find that whole presentation that I just gave you there is take a look in my chapter called Can't Get Better, Do This. And again, this is kind of another way that I present similar information. And this is about the steps and things you would consider to explain how you might get beyond, to all the way well. And again, these are ideas that I would consider using if you're in that 4 months, you're not getting better. I might try some of these ideas to see if I can move you along a little bit further, get you a little bit better, okay? All right, there we are back again. Okay, Joseph, thank you for that question. Hello, Kathy, back at you. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate that. Hello, Gloria. Gratitude, Dr. Ross. Thank you. My vertigo became worse this past February, started a Tobabark and cat's claw, and I think you're saying and cat's claw May 9th. Worked up to 18 drops but stopped July 4th. Couldn't manage the vertigo unchanged. Prior had 10 sessions of hyperbaric oxygen and PK-proof IV, I think. Stopped all. Was this too much detox? Still no better, taking benzodiazepines for anxiety. Do you have any suggestions on how to proceed in tremendous angst, a lot of emotional turmoil? Okay, so Gloria, I would need to ask you a lot more questions. I need to know what else is going on in addition to just the vertigo symptom-wise to figure out, because the question I might have is, do you have active Bartonella or not? Bartonella can cause nerve injury. If you do, then you would need to have some treatment for that. Otoba and Cascade don't treat Bartonella, for instance. Okay, so you might want to take a look at my How to Diagnose chapter. There's an article in there called "It Could Be Bartonella or Babesia." Take a look at that. It describes how do you diagnose Bartonella. Okay, see if you have enough symptoms to suggest if you could have Bartonella. If you do, I would definitely start treating for Bartonella. In terms of things you can do to manage vertigo, consider acupuncture. It can be quite useful sometimes. You might consider something called craniosacral therapy as well too. The other thing with bad vertigo, you probably have already had an ear, nose, and throat doctor take a look at you, but sometimes there are some maneuvers that they can do, something called the Epley maneuver, for instance, that they do some movements with your head that can reset the balance apparatus of your inner ear so that you're not having vertigo as well too. Okay, so those would be some thoughts that I have for you. All right. Okay. Good luck to you, Gloria. Hello, Randy. Let's see. I had a very scary experience. I had a complete day of memory loss. My doctor said it may have been transient global amnesia. Ambulance took me to the hospital, no recollection. Heard of this with Lyme. What do you recommend? My brain is still foggy and filtered. I feel frightened. Randy, I haven't seen it happen in any of my patients, and I'm not aware of it happening in Lyme. I haven't seen it described before. Keep in mind, I've been treating Lyme since 2004, so I've had quite a few people that I've helped. But that doesn't mean I've seen every manifestation of Lyme. Lyme is, as you know, is called the Great Masquerader. But I'm sure that's very scary for you. I'm sorry to hear that happened. The one thing I would do if you're still feeling foggy and quite out of sorts, your brain feels out of sorts, it doesn't feel quite right. One thing I would look at is make sure you don't have too many yeast. Again, yeast in your intestines, especially if you've been treated for Lyme. If you get too many yeast, they release a neurotoxin called gliotoxin that could give you that kind of foggy feeling. Okay, so take a look at the information I have about how do you diagnose yeast. Okay, you'll find that in the yeast chapter at Treat Lyme. Okay, and then the other thing, trying to think of what else to advise you here. You might want to think about how you can decrease that fog. Sometimes lowering inflammatory chemicals like the cytokines can help that fog. So I like using curcumin, and I like using a liposomal variety of curcumin called Mariva 500 by Thorne, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. And you might also consider adding some glutathione to that to help clear if there's any toxin buildup in the brain too. And that would be, I like using that Trifortify product as 5 milliliters 1 time a day. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Hello, Rita. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. My 11-year-old has been diagnosed with Lyme and Bartonella at the end of October 2017. She has been on 5 rounds of antibiotics, Septin and Doxy. She was not treated with another antibiotic for the Bartonella. I now have her under the care of a holistic doctor who has Krista on a gluten, dairy, corn, fruit-free diet to treat the yeast buildup, as well as taking myrrh and artemisinin complex. I'm worried she wasn't treated for Bartonella correctly, and are these the right herbs she should be on? Please advise. I'm desperate to help my daughter get well. Her symptoms are still knee swelling. She's moody. She's always scratching her torso, yawns many times throughout the day, doesn't sleep restful, and bladder issues. Not a full flow. Thank you very, very much for your help, Rita. All right. So, Rita, I think probably the best way I can give you the best advice, because I need to know more. I know somebody diagnosed Bartonella in here. Your symptoms that you just gave me there suggest maybe there's Bartonella, but I need to know a little bit more. I would need to talk with you to give you the best advice, okay? What I can tell you is if she has Bartonella, she was not on an adequate treatment for Bartonella. I don't find, so the only prescription she was on that would have dealt with Bartonella would be the doxycycline, because it's an intracellular antibiotic. We have to use antibiotics to get inside cells to treat Bartonella. And I don't find it used alone is adequate. I do find if you combine it with other intracellulars like a Biaxin or a Zithromax or a rifampin, that it can be helpful, or a Bactrim even, it can be helpful, but not by itself. So I don't think, to answer one part of your question, was she adequately treated for Bartonella? I don't think so. In terms of the things that she's on right now, I would not use myrrh as something to kill Lyme or Bartonella. Artemisinin may be being used for a couple reasons. It may be being used to help stimulate the immune system. It may be being used to treat Babesia. But again, I'm not clear by the symptoms if she has Babesia either. So those are just some thoughts, but to give you the best advice, I would need to know what I'm treating. And I would need to ask a lot of questions so I could help get to the bottom of that. You might want to take a look at my Ross or at my online consults tab at Treat Lyme. Okay? All right. Thank you for that question. Good luck to you and your daughter. Yeah. Hello, let's see, Jennifer. Being treated for about, I think we already answered that one earlier. I'm going to get rid of that. Hello, Giselle again. Let's see here. My mom removed a tick from her leg. 4 days later, she was in extreme pain from head to toe. Doctors did x-rays of shoulder to check for arthritis, saw nothing that concerned them. She tested negative for Lyme, but doctors still treated her with Doxy for 28 days. She found it hard on her body the whole time, took Doxy, Tylenol, arthritis, 8 hours, and nebamutone for pain and inflammation, and melatonin for sleep. Finished Doxy and still has lots of aches and pain, swelling in hands, started having numbness in hands. Which should we do next? She doesn't want to extend the Doxy. She wants to see a doctor for arthritis. She started physical therapy today. Is it possible for her to get rid of all this pain without continuing antibiotics? And what meds would you recommend? All right, so I agree with what the doctor did. I mean, that kind of pain after a tick bite attached would make me think of Lyme disease too. And 28 days of Doxy, at least 100 milligrams twice a day, works. That it can be an effective treatment. If we look at what the studies tell us, though, that about 90% of the time that works, actually about 85 to 90% of the time that works. But even with that standard 1 month of treatment, even in an acute setting like this, 10 to 15% of people go on to continue to have symptoms, all right? So what many of us will do in situations like this is to continue to treat. If I were to continue to treat, I would consider using two things. The problem with doxycycline is a good first choice because it's going to treat for Lyme as well as other tick-borne infections like Bartonella that could have been transmitted. It will treat, in an acute setting, Doxy by itself can get rid of Bartonella, not in a chronic setting, though, okay? I want to clarify because I had mentioned that earlier. Meaning if you've had Bart for years, Doxy by itself will not get rid of Bart. But in an acute setting, Doxy can. Doxy in an acute setting like this can deal with Babesia as well too, okay? So it's a good first choice. But if things aren't getting better, then I might look at changing the treatment. And I probably would look at doing something like a clarithromycin, which is Biaxin, 500 milligrams twice a day. That treats spirochete Lyme, treats intracellular Lyme, which is what the doxy was doing too, but maybe it will work better for her, okay? The other thing I would do is I'd get her on some grapefruit seed extract. That's a 250 milligram pill, and I would do that twice a day, and that should treat the cyst form of Lyme. Now, generally, as many of you know from the webinar tonight, Lyme lives in you in 3 forms, okay? So when you design a treatment, you need to design a treatment that's going to treat all 3 forms. In an acute setting, though, just acute, right after tick bite, you don't even need to cover the cyst. Often just treating the spirochete and treating intracellular Lyme is going to be enough. Your immune system can take care of the rest of it. But at a month, if somebody's not getting better, then I'm going to want to use two antibiotics, whether they're prescription or herbal, that are going to cover all 3 forms of the germ. So your grapefruit seed extract would pick up the cyst form, and the Biaxin would treat intracellular and spirochete Lyme. And I would treat until she's symptom-free for a good month or 2 months before I stop. That means your mother's probably going to need to be treated for about another 2 or 3 months. That's how I would handle it. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to find anyone out there to agree to do that, but that's how I would handle it. Okay? All right. Good luck to you, and thank you for that question. Good luck to your mom. Hello, Julia. Let's see. Best way to deal with Candida overgrowth after a year of antibiotics for Lyme. Not sure if systemic. Have Candida glabrata causing UTI issues and irritation. Other Candida symptoms of fatigue, bloating, coated tongue, nausea, headaches. Started nystatin at 1/2 dose as the Herx was too much. Now at 1/4 dose. Thank you. All right, so generally what I'm going to do is I like combining nystatin along with diflucan, but if you're already having a Herx on the low-dose nystatin, I would probably go slow with you. I would probably use nystatin. I would try to work up to taking a total of 500,000 international units twice a day, but you're going to need to build up gradually. To limit your Herx reaction on this, I would make sure that you're taking at least 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day, 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day of liposomal curcumin. Look at that Thorn Mariva 500 product I mentioned earlier. And the other thing, given how bad your Herxes are, I would take a look at getting on some glutathione. Glutathione can also help in acute Herx reactions as well too. And I would do 5 milliliters once or twice a day of that Trifortify orange product I mentioned earlier. After you've worked up on your nystatin and your Herxes are controlled, then I would add in diflucan, and I would normally I'd like to have adults be on diflucan 200 milligrams 1 time a day in addition to the nystatin, and I usually do that for 30 days. With your situation, I might start at 50 milligrams, do that for a week, and if you can tolerate that, then go to 100 milligrams, then up to 150, and then up to 200 as you can tolerate. Okay, but yeah, that's how I would probably approach this. Okay, all right. Good luck to you, Julia. All right, everyone. That's it for me for tonight. And so thanks, everyone, for being with me here in the last full week of my practice, and at least my clinical practice. As you know, I'm still going to keep doing my one-to-one consults. Feel free to sign up for those. You'll still see me writing and producing the Treat Lyme site, and you'll still see me out there spreading the word about Lyme disease, okay? And these webinars will keep going on as well, too. So feel free to sign up for next week. Here in a second, I'm going to transfer you over to Treat Lyme, where you can either click on the webinars page to sign up for the next one. You could click on the Take Charge button on the home page that you're going to land to actually reach the page where you can subscribe to start reading all that great content. If you'll notice that if you try reading articles that require you to pay, there'll be a blue paywall that shows up that says "Buy now." Keep in mind that the work you do to support and pay for the articles and the information on Treat Lyme is how I'm going to keep supporting myself to keep helping you. All right. So I appreciate your support, and I appreciate your subscriptions of Treat Lyme. And also, I appreciate those of you that are buying from my supplement store as well too. That's going to make it so that I can keep helping you with these resources that I have as well too. All right. So I hope to see you all next week. I do hope that you all will sign up for next week. And let me go ahead. I'm going to transfer you all over. And it's good seeing everyone tonight too. It's nice to be back here again. So let me go ahead. I'm going to transfer everyone back over to Treat Lyme. So here you go.